Hello, welcome to Growing in Uncertainty. My name is Tess Miller, and through my seminar and coaching business, Wings Unfolded, I help people who love what they do, but they're not sure where it's going. And this is also the place to come if you're feeling stuck in your life, if you've reached a point where you're just not sure what your next best steps are going to be, what direction you should go, what decisions you need to make or want to make in your life. My main intention in making these videos is to actually help myself. You may have noticed that about these videos. I talk a lot about my life, what I'm working through, what I'm sorting through in any of the stuck themes of my life. I hope that we can grow together as I share these topics with you. That's my main goal, is that whatever I share, you can take and maybe apply to your life. Try it out, see if it works. So if you're feeling stuck, you've come to the right place. So sometimes when we feel stuck, we can start to feel like we're different, like we don't really fit in. Maybe we used to feel like we fit in, but we don't feel like we fit in anymore. And in those times, I've noticed myself looking to other people to see, well, what are they doing? What makes them fit in? Or how can I be more like them so that I feel like I fit in? But oftentimes when I look to other people, that doesn't feel right to me either. It doesn't really resonate with me. It doesn't match with who I feel like I am. And then sometimes if we start to feel like we're different, maybe we try to go back to the way we used to be in our lives or what we used to do. But, oftentimes we can realize that we've changed. Something inside of us has really changed, and we can't go back to the way that we used to do things or the way that we used to be. So feeling different sometimes means that we actually want to be different in our lives somehow. And we can no longer keep doing what we used to do. And sometimes it can take a lot of time and internal organization to really figure out where we will fit in. But feeling and being different is not a bad thing. And that's the main thing that I want to talk about today, is that being different is actually being true to yourself. And for my whole life, I have always felt like I was different from other people. I've never really been into the, whatever is popular in culture, whether musically or in fashion tastes. Even what I enjoy doing with my time is different from what most people do. That always becomes obvious when, something like the Super Bowl is happening, and it seems like all of our neighbors are having their Super Bowl parties, and we're just not into that. And that's okay. But, it can, after a while, feel like, man, I'm so different from everyone around me. What does that mean? Or what does that say about me? There were times in my life when I would try to hide my differences from other people in order to fit in. I noticed myself doing this whenever I wanted someone to like me, or I wanted to be included in something, and I didn't feel like I was going to be included if I brought my whole self to the table, if I was just myself. Sometimes I hid my differences when I didn't want to hurt somebody else's feelings, and I wanted them to feel included. And I realized pretty quickly in my life that when I wasn't being true to who I am, that actually made for pretty pretty shallow relationships in my life. They weren't based on anything deeper than, I just want you to like me. So it's really important to embrace who you are and what you're all about in order to create those meaningful and sustainable relationships in your life. But even within the realm of creating my career, I was always a little bit different. As a musician, I mean, how many musicians are out there, full-time musicians? That's kind of already different from a lot of people around me in my life. But on top of that, the kind of musician that I always wanted to be was different from even my fellow musicians. I could never see myself committing to having a full-time teaching career or a full-time performance career. I wanted to provide music as a service rather than as a form of entertainment and, hey, look at me, look at what I can do. That was unusual compared to a lot of the people that I went to school with. I wanted to have control over the recitals and the concerts that I played in. I wanted to make those big decisions about what repertoire I wanted to play and the kinds of audiences that I wanted to engage with. I also didn't like competition, which is, competition is one of those things that's inevitable in a music career. In any career, really, there's going to be some element of competition, but especially in music, there oftentimes is a lot of competition for certain jobs and certain roles. And I just didn't really believe in competition. I wanted to do collaborations with people. I didn't want to compete with people. And it seemed like there was a certain personality type that a lot of competing musicians would adopt in order to survive in that, on that path towards their performance careers. And I knew that I didn't want to develop that kind of a personality. I wanted to stay true to who I felt I am at the core of myself. Also, I wanted to stay close to my family. This is something that is a little bit different from my friends and colleagues who pursued full-time music careers where they went where the job was, and that's totally okay. I just knew that was not something that I wanted to do for myself. I wanted to be close to my family and settle in an area where I could have those family and friend relationships. And, as a result, I've made certain decisions in my career that have left my colleagues kind of scratching their heads, like, what? Why did you decide that? So because I've wanted something different for my career has certainly turned out differently from a lot of my friends and colleagues. I've never had a full-time job, although I've worked full-time basically the entire time I've been working. I've never had just one employer at a time. I've had, multiple. I've always worn many different hats in my career. I'm a performer and a teacher and a therapeutic musician and a coach and a writer and a public speaker. Often when I go to family reunions and I get the "what do you do for a living?" question, my family has a tendency to look at me as if I have lobsters crawling out of my ears, because I go on to list off all of the different things that I do, and sometimes they kind of look at me like I'm very strange for wanting to do all those things. But on the one hand, it can actually sound pretty amazing that I've always followed my heart's desire, and I've always maintained, a sense of my own identity in whatever I do. I have a lot of freedom in the work that I choose to do. But I also know that I still have to fight the tendency to feel like there's something wrong with me. When you feel like you're going against the grain of larger society much of the time, it can feel like, oh my God, what am I doing wrong? I'm not like everybody else. Who would choose this kind of lifestyle where, I don't know what my job situation is going to look like from year to year. And, it seems much more simple to just have that one full-time job and the benefits and the security of that. But, I know that if I start to compare myself to other people and I start falling down the should haves rabbit hole, like, oh, I should have gone to school for becoming an orthodontist, or I should have said yes to becoming a veterinarian. I don't know what it is, but, we can fall down that I should have rabbit hole pretty quickly. And at the same time, it doesn't really help to do that ultimately, because then you're forgetting all of the things that went into shaping the decisions that you did make in your life. So, the other thing is that, when I start to fall down the I should have rabbit hole, I remember some really important factors that went into my decision-making process. One of the most important factors is considering, who am I? Who am I? What do I like in this world? What are my values? What are my beliefs? Who am I being in this world? Who do I want to be in this world? That's a really important factor in any decision-making process, is staying true to who you are. The other factor is, what do I do best? What do I have to offer that maybe nobody else has to offer? Or what do I have to offer that I put my own unique spin on? And, what do I do that, is second nature to me? It's fun, it's fulfilling. That's another thing to consider in the decision-making process. Something else is, why do I want to do what I do? Why did I want to become a musician in the first place? Why did I want to become a coach? What are some of the whys in your life that have led you on your path? And then finally is the how. How can I maximize sharing my who, what, and why with the world? That's a question that I come back to often when I feel like I need to reshuffle my job situation. I take a look at what's working really, really well for me, and I ask, how can I maximize that in my life right now? So if you really think about it, some of the best books and movie characters are oftentimes these people who go on what's known as the hero's journey, and they have to discover something about themselves and figure out what their uniqueness brings to the world and how they need to share that with the world. They realize that they're different, and for whatever reason, they just can't be like everyone else. But what are they going to do with that? So certain characters like Forrest Gump comes to mind. He was very different, and yet somehow he managed to be really successful in his life no matter what. He embraced who he was. Anne of Green Gables is one of my favorite books, and Anne, the main character, was definitely very different from everyone else, and at first she struggled against it and resisted it, but once she really embraced who she was, she could really flourish and find a lot of happiness and meaning in her life. And of course, there are others like Frodo from the Lord of the Rings, or Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz would be another one. So even real life characters embrace who they are and are different from everyone else, and have to, maybe even overcome some resistance to that over time. Some real life characters that I thought of were Bob Ross, the artist, or Greta Thunberg. She's the young woman who's fighting for climate change reforms all over the world, or Gandhi in India, or Mother Teresa, or you can even think of different pop artists who were different, like the Beatles, and they really pushed the edge of what popular music could sound like. And of course, you can think of the people in your life who mean a lot to you, and what is it about them that makes them unique or stand out in your mind in some way. If they just fit in, they might not, be on your radar as much, or you might not think of them in that way. So when I reflect on what makes someone successful or stand out in life in some great way, it's because they embraced who they are, their differences and all. They embraced what they do best, why they do what they do, and how they can maximize what they're doing and share it with the world. That's one of the reasons why I decided to become a therapeutic musician. I knew that I wanted to provide music that was healing and could help people, because that's a value of mine. I believe that music is powerful, and I know that what I do best is provide music. And so in order to maximize that in the world, I became a therapeutic musician so that I could be in hospitals to provide that music. And I became a coach because I knew that I could provide listening as a service, and I could hold space for people and whatever they're working through, and help them get unstuck in the places in their lives where they might feel stuck. Being different in a lot of ways is a lot like answering a call to just simply be who you are, and then do that every day, all day long. But being who you are sometimes takes courage. It takes a lot of trust, too. We seem to sometimes want to believe that, well, if I'm more like this person over here, maybe I'll have more success. But that's not our path. That's someone else's path. Our path is the one that's true to who we are. And it also, being who you are also takes accepting that your path won't look like anybody else's. It's going to be just as unique as you are. It may take some patience. It may take longer than you want it to. It may be harder than you want it to be sometimes. But no matter what, if you stay true to who you are in everything that you do, it's a lot more sustainable. You'll have a lot more energy to give it because it'll be authentic. In my recent social media post today, I believe, I shared a picture from my high school prom, and I wanted to just sort of share the story around that. So back when I was in high school, I was very different from everyone else. It just kind of was what it was. I had a small social group, and we were all different in our own way and very accepting of each other. But one of the things that I noticed about us is that we had this disdain for conforming and fitting in, probably because we didn't really feel like we fit in ourselves. And so we sort of spent a lot of time making fun of things like prom and, anything about high school that was, the stereotypical high school experience. But I really wanted to go to prom. Deep down inside, there was a part of me that wanted to show people that I could still have the high school experience and still be different. And so I hatched this plan where I would go to prom, but I would not dress like everybody else. I would dress the way I wanted to dress. And I would go with the people that I wanted to go with to prom. I wouldn't wait for somebody to ask me. And I would just have fun no matter what. I wanted to have that experience. And so I talked to my friends about it, and I talked about this idea of treating prom like it was a costume party, and we could wear costumes and just, be who we are at prom. And my friends actually loved that idea. And that's what we did. And that's how I ended up getting a beehive. I had to call around and ask if ladies remembered how to do beehives. This was in the 1990s, by the way. So the 70s were 20 years in the past, 60s even, 30 years in the past. And, I found a dress that was, it was a secondhand dress and kind of looked, old, but like a, fun cocktail dress. And my friends dressed up in their costumes, and we went and we had a blast. And it still is one of my most cherished memories about high school. I'm so glad that I had that experience of feeling like I could be free to be who I am, no matter what. So, it was definitely a lesson for me that when I follow my who I am, what I want to do and why, the how it's going to all happen is so much easier to find. I didn't know how I was going to end up going to prom. I just knew who I was, what I wanted to do, and why I wanted to do it. So, remember the movie The Field of Dreams? If you haven't seen it, you should go see it. I'm sure it's streaming someplace. But anyway, The Field of Dreams is this movie about this farmer who's about to lose his farm. And he has no idea how he's going to save the farm. But he knows that that he loves baseball. That's a humongous part of his life. And he hears a call, literally a voice from the sky, saying to him, "If you build it, they will come." And again, he doesn't know what that's supposed to do for his life, but he does it anyway. He builds the field because he knows how to do that. He knows why, because this voice is telling him to do it, and he knows that he just loves baseball, so he's just following that. Now, eventually, over the course of the movie, without giving too much of it away, he does end up saving the farm because he built this field, and I'm not going to give you any spoilers if you haven't seen it, but you should totally go see it. So anyway, he knew who he was, what he wanted to do, and why he wanted to do it. And in the end, the how he was going to save the farm, that all took care of itself because he stayed true to himself. So if you feel like you're different, or you've become different in some way in your life, and you don't know how you're going to move forward, then try focusing on who you are, what you ultimately want to do. What do you enjoy doing? What do you do better than anyone else you can think of? Why do you want to do that? What does doing that bring to you? What's the meaning or purpose behind that? And then once you embrace all of that, the how is going to take care of itself. That's where it takes a little bit of trust. But I hope this message resonates with you. Thank you so much for joining me today on this odd time. I know I keep changing the time. It's summer. It's kind of crazy time around here. But I'm always so grateful for your presence whenever you watch these videos, and I'd love to hear from you if you want to share any feedback with me. Please like or share these videos with friends and family who might be interested in these topics. And if you want to know more about me or about the book that I just wrote, the Book of Stuck, you can go to my website, www.tess-miller.com. You can sign up for my free email list, and you can stay tuned to any updates on my Wings Unfolded Facebook or LinkedIn pages. You can also find me under my name, Tess Miller, on Instagram and also on YouTube. You can find these videos under the playlist Growing in Uncertainty. And if there's something that you would like help with related to some place in your life you're feeling stuck, or a life transition that you're trying to make, please send me a private message. I'd love to connect with you and have a conversation with you in some way that's helpful. So remember that it's okay to be stuck, but you don't have to stay there. Take care and have an awesome week.